Okay, have you ran 4 hours for the marathon or 4 hours 25 for the marathon like I had, but you've got into your head that one day you want to be a sub 3 hour marathon runner? It took me 1 year to go from 4 hours 25 for the marathon to 3 hours 25 for the marathon. It then took me 11 months to go from 3 hours 25 to 2 hours 37. That's an improvement of 1 hour and 48 minutes in 23 months. And what I'm going to do in this video is remove all the mistakes I made in those 23 months and give you what I would do if I started again today so that you can beat your marathon time by an hour in 9 months. Now, most marathon runners stagnate for two main reasons: because they aim low and they aim to run slow for long periods of time so they can make it to the finish line. They train slow and therefore they run slow. Let's work back from the goal. What we're trying to do in 9 months is run a sub 3 hour marathon. So in order to do that, the equivalent time is 1 hour 24 for a half marathon, or 4 minutes per kilometer. In order to do that, we know we've got to run a 10K a little bit quicker than that, in about 350 to 355 per kilometer, coming in at 38:30 or 39 minutes. In order to do that, we've got to be comfortable at running 5K in 18:45, or we've got to be able to run 5K in 18:45, which is 3:45 per kilometer. So we cannot neglect our strength and endurance, but we've got to become powerful and we've got to become quick and comfortable at running over the ground 3:45 per kilometer for short distances like 5K and almost 10K, and then 4 minutes per kilometer over the ground for extended periods of time, up to an hour and more. So the first cycle, that first 13 weeks, we're focused on you becoming an 18:45 minute 5K runner. And in order to do that, here are 5 sessions that you're gonna love, and they're so much fun to do, especially if you've been focused on the marathon and half marathon for quite some time. Session number 1, 20 times 300 meters with 60 seconds rest in between. And the pace we're aiming to run those 300 meter reps in is 320 to 325 per kilometer. Why so fast? We're trying to run 300 meters at 10% quicker than we want to be able to run 5K in our intended pace for 5K. So we're looking at that goal as an intermediate goal, the 5K. We're working back from that and we're running intervals 10% quicker, which is going to make that 5K pace feel easier. Now, if you're currently running 3 hours 30, 4 hours or more for the marathon, this is going to be a big session for you unless you've come from a speed background. You used to run 400 meters or 800 meters on a track or something like that. So what I'd suggest is that you let this pace come to you. So you do 20 times 300 meters, pace the session so that you're pushing, but you get to the end of the session and you could do another 1 or 2 reps if pushed. If that looks like 4 minutes or 4 minutes 15 per kilometer pace to begin with, gradually build that up over the weeks and get to a point where you can execute 20 times 300 meters in 320 to 325. It's a great session and it's a lot of volume at running 10% faster than 5K pace. Session number 2, big session, but it's a great session. 6 times a kilometer with 60 seconds rest in between. So keeping the heart rate elevated throughout the session, and the pace we're aiming at for those kilometer reps is 3:30 per kilometer. So 15 seconds faster than the 5K pace we're aiming at or intending to do. Now that's a big session. So if you need to start on 3 times a kilometer and gradually work your way up, that's sensible. What you can also do is start with 6 times a kilometer, but at a slower pace. So if this looks like for you, 4:15, 4:30 per kilometer, and then you're gradually working towards faster paces, great. Let the paces come to you. If you try to chase a pace that you're not currently capable of, the session is going to derail at some point. It's just going to take you too much to recover, or you won't be able to recover in time, and then you're overreaching and that's going to lead to injury. That's not what you want. We want the progress to be up, and therefore you've got to let the pacing come to you. Session number 3. Very simple session, but a great session to do. No matter where you are on your journey, 5K, 10K, marathon, brilliant to do this from time to time because it really figures out where you're at right now. How fast can you push it for these shorter intervals, recover in time, go again, and it's a nice manageable amount of distance. 10 times 2 minutes with 60 seconds rest in between. And for this intended 18:45 pace for 5K, we're going to do it 15 seconds to 10% faster than that pace. We're going to aim for 320 to 330 per kilometer. Now we're doing 20 minutes of volume, so more hopefully than the race that we're aiming for, the 5K, and we're working faster. So it's a great confidence booster. What it's going to feel like is double that initial 300 meter reps. So those 20 times 300 meters that you've already done in 3 minutes 20 per kilometer, that's essentially 20 times 1 minute. And now we're doing 10 times 2 minutes. So very, very similar session, but longer reps, but less of them. Brilliant session. Session number 4 is a classic. 8 times 800 meters, 60 seconds rest in between. I would do this out there on the tarmac. Don't get drawn into doing your intervals on the track where you've got the bends, you've got the different surface. Train for the surface that you're going to be racing on. The 8 times 800 meters, just 60 seconds rest in between. Again, we're keeping the heart rate elevated and you're aiming at 330 pace. 6.4K of volume at faster, 15 seconds per kilometer faster than the 5K we're intending to do. Again, brilliant session and a real test of where you are right now. Session number 5. And if you can do this, you are in shape and ready to run that 5K in 18:45. What we're going to do is just longer reps, 3 times 2 kilometer reps at 3:45 pace. So exactly the pace that we're intending to run for the 5 kilometer. There's only 3 reps, 60 seconds rest in between. And if you can do that 6 kilometers of volume at 5K pace, then you should be super confident in order to box that off. Because remember, you've got the accumulated fatigue from the rest of the training. You're doing your long runs at the weekend, the rest of your runs, you're on fatigued legs. And once you add to that like a 10-day taper, freshen up the legs, you're gonna have that zip to really go fast in that 5K, control it for the first 2, 3K, ideally 4K, then let rip and really go for that sub 19 time, that 18:45 time. Those are 5 great sessions to really go at that 5K PB. And if you can put yourself in that place, and if that is a sub 3 hour marathon runner that you want to be in the future, and you're trying to get that time first and then move on, what you're going to do is take that faster running into other areas of your training. But the mistakes that I often see people make are these. Mistake number 1, I referred to it in a few of those sessions, but be realistic with your starting point. If you're currently running, like I was, 4 hours and 25 for the marathon, then to start doing 300 meter repeats in 320 per kilometer, I may be able to do them, but it's going to take a lot out of me. So you've got to be realistic with your starting point, but also realistic during the sessions. Can my body handle it? Not just one session, but can I do this consistently on a weekly basis? So I'm moving myself forward, I'm getting that super compensation, and I'm working towards my goal time for 5K. Number 2, pacing. And I'm not just talking about pacing the 5K, pacing each individual rep, pacing the session. I'm talking about pacing the week, making sure that you're not taking too much out of yourself on the Wednesday interval session so that you can then hit it again on a Sunday long run and get that super compensation from both areas. You're also pacing the training schedule. So you're pacing the next 8 to 13 weeks so that you can consistently check off these sessions and move yourself forward. It's all to do with pacing. And the only way to do that is to exert yourself so you get that super compensation, you stretch that elastic band, but you don't want to snap it. You just want to stretch it so you can stretch it a little bit more next time. Number 3, don't neglect your strength. Get in the gym once a week and hit legs. Be specific with the type of movements that you're doing. It's gonna feed into all of your running, but especially your fast running, and especially your hill running, and where you get that power from. A powerful runner with robust lower legs and quads is gonna be injured less. So you've got just much more forward progress. Number 4, remember the goal is a moving target. Don't set it in stone and say, okay, 18:45, and all the training indicates that you can be going way faster, but that's your goal. You're going to train for the race that you're going to run. And so if you see indications within that training that you can get a little bit more out of your body, you feel fresh at the end of these sessions, you can do at least 2 or 3 more reps in these interval sessions, then push on. But get that self-awareness, become a good trainer so that you can take that on to the rest of the year in hitting the next cycle, 10K half marathon, and then towards marathon cycle in the third quarter of this year as we head towards autumn. So there you go. It doesn't matter what your starting point is right now. If I would have been logical at 4 hours 25 for the marathon, the next step would have been 4 hours. That made no sense to me because I was all about finding what I was capable of. And when you start to do the right things well and hit that consistency and discipline, and those results start to compound, you can turn yourself into a completely different athlete in just a space of a month. So good luck, and let me know in the comments, what's your current marathon time and what's the fastest you've ran for 5K?